Shalom, and welcome to What the Watchman Sees, a ministry that will sift through all of the social media noise to show you news of importance from the Most High's perspective. As watchmen, we are here both to warn of dangers and give biblical answers for dwelling in the secret place of the Most High during these times of confusion. Tell your family and friends to like, share, and subscribe as we delve into what Yahweh has for us, the apple of His eye. Let's get to work. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to take some time on this Shabbat to look at two scriptures, one from Ephesians chapter 6, starting at verse 10, and then one from Revelation chapter 12, most of the chapter. So what we're going to do at this point is to go to Ephesians chapter 6, starting at verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Most High and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of Yahuwah, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore with your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yah. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for the saints. I'm going to stop there. So we read Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18. And now I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, travailing in birth, pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for her to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto the Most High, and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared of the Most High, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a voice in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our Elohim, and the power of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, heavens, and you that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has but a short time. And when the devil saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yahuwah, and have the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus Christ. So, from those 2 scriptures, we're going to open a presentation, and we're going to talk about those 2 scriptures as they relate to the days and the times in which we live. So what we're going to be looking at is how these 2 scriptures come together to inform us as Yah's people on this Shabbat, what we are looking at in our own lives, in the world around us, and how we should be, what we should understand in these last days and time. In these last days, we're dealing with Ephesians chapter 6, starting at verse 10, and we're dealing with Revelation chapter 12, starting at verse 1. The 2 scriptures that we're looking at that we're going to combine is we, and the we, it has to be identified. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Flesh and blood has to be identified. So, to be clear, we're looking at our current state of affairs, which is a state of war. The scriptures in Ephesians 6 and Revelation 12, when combined, reveal an old story of good versus evil playing itself out in our present day. There exists a perpetual state of war in which we must engage. We didn't start it, and we cannot end it. But to deny that we are combatants in this war is a very unstable position for us to take. It is spiritual in nature and is waged in these times in our natural environment. So this Shabbat meditation will bring into focus the relationship between Ephesians 6 and Revelation 12. So before we get into any of the details, I want us to slow down and get 2 things straight, because everything else in this section hangs on those 2 things. First question, who exactly are Yah's people? Who are the chosen? We have to be clear about that, because you can't talk about a war if you don't know which side you're standing on. The second question, once we know who the chosen are, we need to name who and what we're actually wrestling against. And notice Paul says in Ephesians 6, it's not flesh and blood. It's spiritual wickedness. Let me say it in another way. It's not skin color. It's spiritual wickedness. Revelation 12 gives us the picture. The dragon has been scheming against the chosen ones from the very beginning. And the way he wages war isn't one single attack. It's multi-pronged, coming at us from a lot of directions at once. Keep that in mind, because that's the thread that runs through everything else we're going to look at. So let's answer that first question. Who is this woman of Revelation 12, and who is her seed, or who are the chosen? Scripture points us to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. the people who carry Yah's covenant. Today, that includes the scattered bloodlines of the northern and southern kingdoms. It also includes the Israel of Yahuwah or Yahweh, the bloodline who have accepted the Messiah, and it also includes the Gentiles who accepted the Messiah and were grafted in to the Commonwealth of Israel. So it's broader than people sometimes think, but it's rooted in that covenant line. Now, here's the hard part, and I want to say it plainly. We, as Yah's people, are in a constant state of war. And most of us refuse to even acknowledge it. And the war is aimed at our families because the family is the founding unit of any righteous nation. So when we look at the evidence, we can see that the pattern that actually started in Genesis, the man and the woman have been separated. The children in this day and time are basically raising themselves, and the nation has stopped having children. Our birth rate, which used to be near the top of the country, now reveals that we are barely replacing ourselves, as is the case with our oppressors. And since most of my comments focus on my people in this Western version of Babylon, that's where the focus of this presentation is. But as scripture states, our people have been scattered to the four winds. So we are only the USA version of this story. It's not a random story. It's not a random situation. That has been Satan's strategy, and we'll see why as we keep going. Okay, so if that's who the chosen are, now let's name who we wrestle against. The seed of the serpent in Revelation chapter 12. It starts in the spiritual realm. The angels who rebelled against the Most High and their fallen offspring, the ones who took the daughters of men and had children, some of those are reserved in chains of darkness until that final judgment, some of those angels. But their work continues on the earth. So that work works its way into the world through what is called the beast and what the scriptures in Revelation speak to as being the false prophet. That's the geopolitical and the religious power in the world through humans who willingly let that serpent spirit inhabit them. And scripture actually names the pattern for us. So when we look through scripture, we can see that serpent and the serpent's seed that Genesis 3 talks about. So when we hear about Cain or Nimrod or Esau or the false Jews that Yeshua talked about when he was walking the earth, and then that whole list that the scriptures subsequently describe generically as people who are the liars, the warmongers, the thieves, the fearful, the unbelieving, the murderers, the sorcerers, the idolaters. The point isn't just a list of bad people. It's a bloodline and a spirit that keeps showing up in every generation, which is why it seems that our people keep having to start from scratch in each generation. That is by design of the serpent. Now, let's get practical about how this enemy has actually been waging the war, because Revelation 12 isn't just ancient history. You can see it playing out. It works through alliances of the fallen ones with human beings against Yah's people. And a lot of it is race-based warfare. Think about the over-policing and under-policing of Black communities at the same time. and governments quietly encouraging white supremacist groups. Then there's the legal front, anti-chosen laws, the attacks on DEI, on affirmative action. And there's an economic front hitting on two levels, the black middle class getting squeezed through politics and corporate retrenchment, and the black poor getting hit through things like the removal of SNAP and rent subsidies, and communities flooded with drugs, guns, and environmental hazards nobody else would tolerate. And then specifically the attack on the youth, starting from the womb with abortion, poor public education, the promotion of death music, DEATH music, poor diet driven by no access to quality food, and that school to jail pipeline that people continually talk about is not a concept, it's a reality. So when you line it all up, you see it's not scattered, it's coordinated. It is coordinated by the spiritual realm, and the spiritual realm always works with human beings. So it's human beings in positions of power that are driving most of this warfare against Yah's people. Let's keep going because the list doesn't stop there. You've got negative use of social media, video games. You've got self-help organizations in the community that are being smeared as anti-Semitic or racist just for trying to lift their own people up. You've even got harassment of communities that start farming and homesteading projects because they understand that people need to be able to feed themselves and not rely on those who hate them. And maybe the most dangerous one, the blindness of Yah's people when it comes to seeing who we are and where we are. We are in Babylon. We're in the land of our captivity. Now, sometimes, as Jeremiah said, sometimes when we're in the land of captivity, we are supposed to set our sights on maintaining ourselves in that place, planning to be there for a while. So that's legitimate. But we are in Babylon, and even our ancestors were in Babylon for a relatively short period of time and then left to go back home. That's a different mindset than we belong here in the land of our captivity, because the only way that we can belong in the land of our captivity is to be here as captives. So add to that all the distractions deliberately placed in front of us to keep us from our responsibilities, of taking care of our own needs, of advocating for our own interest. Those are our responsibilities. Our responsibilities are not to work as hard as we can to keep Babylon functioning. So I have to say it again because it's the heartbeat of this whole message. We are in a constant state of war. We actually live behind enemy lines, but we refuse to acknowledge it as a group of people. And as I've said earlier, the main objective of this war is to focus on destroying the destruction of the family. And we already talked about what that looked like. Whether the destruction is between the man and the woman, or whether the destruction is between parents and children, or whether it's the fact that we just don't even have an interest in having children like we used to. This is all the result of war being waged on us. And so here's the takeaway. We're not dealing with humans only. We're dealing with a very old spirit Scripture calls them familiar spirits. They know us better than we know ourselves. They've been watching us generation after generation. They know our strengths. They know our weaknesses. They always will play on our weaknesses so that our strengths can be neutralized. That spirit functions through human beings. But we can't just focus on the human beings. We have to look to He who created both. So let that be the thing that stays with you as we close this meditation on this Shabbat. When you look at everything we just walked through, the law, the economics, the attacks on the family and the youth, don't stop at the human faces. Behind all of it, we are dealing with humans willfully controlled by a very old spirit. And that's why Paul told us we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Once you see it that way, it changes how you fight. And that's exactly where we're headed next. You don't fight as an individual. You fight as the army of the Most High. Father, bless you and keep you. Father, make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. Father, lift up his countenance upon you and give you his shalom.